Well, just in case you thought I was being completely mean to LittleWing, we'll cover the very next game they developed, 8 Ball Deluxe, in 1992, published by Amtex, and see how it holds up compared to 1991's Tristan, which Amtex also published. I probably should have mentioned that in the Tristan review. For those of you in the know about pinball, yes, this is a recreation of the massively popular 1981, 1982, and 1984 table of the same name designed by George Christian, which itself is a sequel of sorts to 8 Ball and had a sequel of its own, 8 Ball Champ, which came nowhere close to the rousing level of success the previous two did. For those not in the know, yeah, there were several pinball machines that ended up as a series, most famously the Pinbot trilogy, for instance, though nowadays they're all basically licensed off of movies. Not to say that we didn't have amazing tables licensed off of movies or shows, which makes them a pain to recreate due to licensing issues, by the way, which is the main reason we'll probably never get a recreation of NBA Fast Break, one of my personal favorite tables, but now I'm getting way off topic. Point is, I do have nostalgia for this game. This was probably what got me interested in real pinball in the first place. It's just too bad there was never any physical machines around where I was, or at least not any that I saw. I would love to play this in real life one day, but now I'm kinda getting off topic. Again. The game starts off with possibly the only bit of sound that isn't in the original, a banjo ditty that, from the stories on LittleWing's site, was made by the president of the company that made the DOS version, P.A.S. systems. It's a catchy little tune, and I like the intro animation in the DOS version.
8 Ball Deluxe. Quit talking and start chalking.
For 1992, the game is gorgeous. Both versions look great, though the DOS version actually manages to make every bit of text on the playfield legible. This is because it's higher resolution, though, and comes at the cost of making it have to scroll. That might sound like me being nitpicky, but this table moves rather fast, both in video game form and in real life. The ball can come shooting down from those bumpers, and the flippers don't go easy on the ball either. That scrolling can be rather disorienting at the speeds this table likes to move. Then again, better solution than some pinball games I've played. Looking at you, Pokemon Pinball. So the DOS version scrolls, but is slightly more crisp, so there's slight trade-offs there. But how do they both play? How do they handle the game rules? How are their physics? As we've seen, a pinball game hinges extremely heavily on its physics. If that's off, well, it doesn't matter a large amount how the game looks or sounds, it won't be much fun to play. I will say one thing, the ball physics on the DOS version do feel more natural. It feels like the ball flows like it should, doesn't stick to anything like in the LittleWing version. Usually. You get a little more consistency with your shots. You also get side nudging, which LittleWing wouldn't implement for their next several games. The DOS version also comes with customization, though this invalidates high scores, and a mode that removes the playfield glass so you can mess around with the table. The table rules mention the deluxe back glass, but it doesn't even seem to keep track of that. Not that it matters, considering the table is on free play. This is something no version of 8 Ball Deluxe gets right either. To an extent, anyways. The LittleWing version and the more recent Pinball Arcade version implement this, but it's not saved when you couldn't come back later, which was something the actual table would do. It would save the status of the backglass in memory, which would have been nice to see saved in the computer versions. But alas, no. Even aside from that, the DOS version has a really wonky implementation of the game rules. The 25,000 point arrow on the A and B lanes will sometimes activate when it shouldn't. I've had the 8 ball target not activate when hitting all the other drop targets, and I've even had it activate early. On top of that, hitting the corner pocket pothole if Deluxe is active after the 8 ball has been sunk will reactivate the drop targets, which also doesn't happen. To be fair, the LittleWing table makes this last mistake too. There isn't really an overwhelming amount of rules to this table. They'll fit into about a page and a half in great detail. It's not hugely complex compared to some tables I've seen. There's no multi-ball, no overly complicated bonus calculations, no crazy bonus features or strange steps to jackpots. It's pretty simple to understand. The game also seems really eager to shoot you to the out lanes. It feels like a good portion of the balls I launch hardly make it to the flippers, and if they start bouncing between the slingshots, you better start praying, because there's a real good chance that's also going to the out lanes. To be fair, this may be more a criticism of the table itself rather than the software recreations, but still, it seems to do this even more in the DOS version. So the LittleWing version seems to be better in most ways, aside from ball physics and table resolution, the latter of which has its pros and cons. There's one odd flaw with the rules that's shared with the DOS version, and the somewhat sticky, slightly wonky ball physics of early LittleWing games are still there. I want to like the DOS version of this with the improved physics of side nudging, being able to type your name in, yet another thing LittleWing wouldn't do for several more games. But the rules of the table aren't even fully implemented properly, and the DOS version teases at Royal Flush, Fireball, and Funhouse coming soon. Yeah, I'd have loved to see what a 90s computer version of Funhouse looked like. My thoughts exactly. Like with the Star Trek The Next Generation console games, there's features I like from both, but they're both imperfect. If only there was some fusion of the two, something that fixed the rule implementation flaws, was higher resolution, still had good ball physics, we'd have the perfect recreation.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Yes, my beautiful unholy child. It's perfect, it's amazing, it's... Mwah. Well, perfect for the 90s anyways. This version fixes it. It fixes it all. The rules are all implemented properly. Even the mistaken reactivation of the drop targets is removed. Everything goes when it's supposed to. The physics even feel a little better than version 1. This is wondrous. For the early 90s, this is a fantastic pinball simulation. Deluxe still doesn't save on exiting the table, but that doesn't matter too much. It's still great. With this newfound improvement, here we go. DOS version 2 is the best computer version of 8 Ball Deluxe. I might recommend the Pinball Arcade version, but that may be on personal preference. It's not like the Pinball Arcade doesn't have its flaws, and due to licensing, Pinball Arcade is going to stop selling Bally and Williams pinball tables on June 30th, 2018 anyways. If nothing else, you could always try your luck with visual pinball if you really want a modern recreation. It'll certainly be customizable that way. Other than that, DOS 8 Ball Deluxe it is. Version 2. Not to discredit LittleWing, they also did a great job, especially compared to revisiting Tristan, which was clunky enough it may have actually broken the previous nostalgia I had for it, but P.A.S. systems actually fixed their game and made it even better, so kudos there. Both of these are relatively easy to find online. The Mac version runs in Sheepshaver and, I believe, Basilisk 2. The DOS version will run in DOSBox's default settings, though I hear setting the cycles to somewhere around 7,000 helps if there's flickering. If you don't know which version you have, check the back box settings. If there's resolution settings, you have version 2. This is Tanara Kuranov signing off until next time when we hit the slopes with Mac Ski.